In the last video, we were able to create a user account on the server. We were able to create a user entry in our database and email verification entry in our database. And during the sign up process, we were able to send verification email to our user email address. Okay, so if you look at the verification mail, if you check your email address, the email address you used to sign up, if you have coding along, you are going to see this is what the email looks like. Actually, this was the email address we sent during the last video. Okay, so the email address contains a verification link. If the user clicks on this link now, it's going to direct them to a verify email page, but we've not created that page, so that is what we'll be doing in this video. All right, and if you look at our database, this is my own database now. We see that in our users table, we have an entry that is representing the user we created in the last video. Okay, this is the email, this is the ID. All right, we have the local authentication method in the auth providers array. Okay, and we have the hashed password, we have the email verified. You can see that the user account is not yet verified. That is why this one is false. Okay, this was the time that the user's account was created. And if you look at the email verifications table, we have a token. All right, this is the verification token that was sent to the user email address. All right, so whenever the user click on that link that was sent to their email address, this token is going to come alongside with the link, and then we're going to be comparing the link that is coming from the user's email to the link that we have in our database. If the link are the same, then we are going to verify the user's account. If the links are not the same, then that means the user is providing an invalid link. All right, and each email address, each email verification link has an expiring time. Okay, so this is the expiring time. If you check the email address, you are going to see that we have a 15-minute validity period for each verification link. Okay, so this is the time that the email verification link is going to expire. All right, actually this one has expired because it's more than 15 minutes since it was created. Actually, it's even more than 24 hours now. I'm recording this video more than 24 hours after the last video. All right, so now we are going to go into our app, and then we are going to create a verify email page, because if you look at the link, we are going to see that there is a the link is directing to a verified email page. Okay, so I'm going to go to app now. Inside of this auth routes group, then we are going to create a verify email page, verify email, then we're going to have page.tsx. all right, so here now we're going to be creating a React component. Okay, so we're going to be calling this verify email. Okay, so this verified email is going to be accepting search params. All right, search params. Okay, so this prop is going to contain search params. Okay, search params is going to be a promise that is going to resolve into an object, and inside of the object we are going to have a token. The token is going to be of data type string. Okay, so the first thing we are going to be doing is to first get our token from search params. Okay, we are going to have first token will be the structuring token from search params. All right, so this is going to be search params. So we need to make this an asynchronous function, okay, so that we can use await inside of it. All right, so after getting the token, we need to check if the token is provided. Okay, so if token is not provided, then we are going to be redirecting the user back to the home page. Okay, if the token is not provided, the token is always supposed to be present if the user is clicking on the link directly from their email. Okay, so if the token is not present, that means something is wrong somewhere. Possibly the user is trying to manufacture a link that is not existing. Okay, so now the next thing after checking if the token is provided, is to verify the email, the user account. All right, we'll be doing the verification inside of a dedicated function. Okay, so we're going to call the function verify email. Okay, the function is going to be accepting the token. All right, the function is going to return an object, and inside of that object we are going to be having a success attribute, which is going to be a boolean value. It is going to be true if the verification is successful, and false if it is not successful. We are also going to have a message accompanying the success attribute coming with the result from that function. Okay, now we are going to create this function in a file. All right, take note that this is starting with a uppercase V, which is the component, the React component, while this one is starting with a lowercase v, which is going to be a function that will be verifying the user's email. So we are going to go to our lib directory now. Then we are going to create that function. Okay, we have a verify email. The first thing we're going to be doing inside of this file is to import server only package to ensure that the function is only executed on this server. Okay, so we are going to be exporting a function from this file, a sync function. Okay, so the name is going to be verify email. All right, so it's going to be accepting the token, the verification token. The type is going to be of data type string. Okay, so this function is going to be returning a promise. It's an asynchronous function. So this promise is going to resolve to a verify results data type. We're going to create that type now. So we're going to create an interface. So I'm going to call it verify result. And as you already know, this function is returning an object with a success attribute, which is going to be boolean. Okay, and it's also going to return message, which is going to be a string. All right, I'm going to save that. Now we're going to open our function. Inside of this function, the first thing we're going to do is to validate our token with Zod to ensure that the user is providing a string data type. So I'm going to import zid from Zod. So we don't need to create a schema inside of the Zod schemas file we'll be using this, because this is just a simple schema that we are using just once. Okay, so it's just a string schema, and it must have a minimum of 1 character. Okay, so we don't need to take that all around. Now we're going to pass a token to this. Okay, so this is going to be returning sources and data. Okay, so we are just going to rename this data as validated token. Okay, now after validating the token, we're going to check if the validation is actually successful. So we're going to say if not success, if the validation is not successful, then we are going to be returning a false response to the caller of the function. So we're going to have success going to be false. Okay, and message is going to be invalid. It's going to be a string invalid verification link. All right, so that is going to be that for that. Now if it is successful, the validation is successful, then we need to get the verification entry from our database. Okay, this is the verification entry. We need to get it from our database. All right, so now we're going to create a client variable. So it's going to be of data type client or null. Okay, by default as a start, we are going to initialize it as a null, since we are going to be making a synchronous call. So we'll be using try catch block and finally. Okay, it's kind of a simple logic structure. So the first thing is to get a connection from the database connection pool. Okay, we need to close this, right? So we need to get a connection from the database connection pool. Ensure that your pool is imported. All right, we've done this over and over again. Okay, so after getting the connection from the cool. Okay, we need to await this. We need to await that. It's an asynchronous call. All right. So after getting a connection, now we need to query our database. So we are going to have rows, which is going to be an array of results, and each result is going to be an object. So we have a client dot query. Okay. So this is where we are going to be providing a SQL query. Okay. And if we so wish, we can also provide the structure of the data we are expecting from our database. All right. So we are just going to be getting the user ID from the database, and the data type is going to be number, which is an integer in the database, or serial integer. All right. So our query is going to go like this. So we are selecting user underscore ID from email verifications table, email underscore verifications. Okay. So let's break this into double lines, into 2 lines. Where token. So we'll be querying it with tokens. So I'm going to use $1 for that. We'll be providing the token as a parameter, and expires at is greater than our present time. Okay, so that is going to mean that the token has not expired. Okay, so now we're going to provide our validated token. Okay, now after getting that from the database, let's rename our results to verification. This row we are going to rename it to verifications. Okay, so after getting that from the database, we need to first check if we actually got any result from the database. Okay, if there is a token in the database and the token has not expired. Okay, so we're going to have a conditional statement here. We're going to say if verifications dot length, all right, is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, that means there is no entry in the database. Okay, so we are going to be returning an error response to the user. Let's say a false response. Okay, so success is false, and the message is going to be invalid or expired link. Invalid or expired. Okay, so that's that for that. If there is no link, if the token is not in the database or the token has expired. But if it hasn't expired, if this condition is not true, that means we are getting a result from our database. So let's just assign this to verification. Verification is going to be verifications, and then it's going to be the first object in the verification array. So at this point, we've validated the user's provided token. We've gotten the token from the database. So at this point, that means if our logic gets executed up to this point, that means there is a valid token in the database. So if there is a valid token in the database, we need to update our users table to turn this this email verified, to turn it to true, because there is a valid token in the database. Our user is providing a valid token. So in that case, we'll be starting a database transaction, because as we'll be turning this to a true Boolean value, we also need to delete this entry from the database, because the entry is not useful anymore since the user has validated their account. All right. So here we are going to be starting a database transaction. So we're going to have a client.query. So we are going to have a begin, which is going to start a database transaction. All right. So after starting the transaction, now we need to update our users table. I'm going to have update users. That is the users table. So what are we updating? We just want to update the email verified column. All right, column. Okay, so we'll be setting it to true. Okay, so we need to specify which specific user do we want to update his or her entry. So ID, we'll be getting the user with the ID, which is the ID we extracted from the verifications table at this point. Okay, you know, we extracted the user's ID from the verifications table. So we're providing the ID as a parameter, and we need to ensure that the user actually has a local authentication method as part of their auth provider. So we are going to say if local is any of the values in the auth providers array. Okay, so that's going to be the end of that query. If you look at our database, this is our users table. Is that? Yeah, this is our users table. So if you look at the auth providers array, you can see that we have local there. So as we are checking the user's ID, we're also checking if the user also has a local authentication method in their auth providers column. Okay, so after updating the users table now, we also need to delete the verification entry from the email verification table. Okay, so we have client.query. We're going to have delete from email verifications, okay, where token equals $1. Okay, so I'm going to provide a validated token there. Okay, all right, so now we are done with both operations we want to do in our transaction. So at this point, we need to commit our transaction. So we have a client dot query. Okay, so here we need to commit our transaction. Okay, so after doing that, then we are going to be returning a success response back to our user. Okay, so we're going to say success is true at this point. Our message is going to be email. Okay, it's going to be a string email verified successfully, or you can say account verified successfully, whichever you like. Now we need to handle any possible error in this catch part of our logic. Okay, so I'm going to say if our client is true, okay, now we need to revert, we need to roll back the database transaction if an error occurred during the process. Okay, so we're going to have a wait. Okay, we're going to use our custom try catch wrapper. Okay, and we're going to have clients dot query. Okay, so we need to roll that back. Right, I'm going to say roll back just in case an error occur on that process. Okay, so what is happening here? Type this is not assignable to let me get rid of this assert that. Okay, so that's going to get rid of that error. So TypeScript is telling us that there is the possibility that this client is null, but since we have created the conditional check here, so we've checked if client is true. So if client is true, that means it is no longer null. Okay, so we just need to assert that client is not going to be null. All right, so that's that for that. And if there was an error, we need to return an error response back to the caller of the function. So I'm going to say sources going to be false because an error occurred, and message is going to be it's going to be a string. I'm going to say an error occurred during account, let's say account verification. Okay, that's going to be sufficient for that. All right, so in the finally block, we need to release our database connection back to the pool. Okay, so that's that for that. What is the problem here? Declaration or statement expected. Is there any part of the code we are not closing? Let me save this. There is a part we are not closing. We've closed this. Okay, so this is not supposed to be here. All right, so that's going to resolve that. Error is defined but never read. Okay, we can just get rid of error then if that is the problem. Okay, so we are good now. Verification is assigned a value but never used. So we are supposed to provide the user's ID at this point. Okay, so that was an omission. I'm sorry for that. I'm going to say verification dot user ID. Okay, so that's that for that. All thanks to TypeScript, we'd have gone ahead with the rest of our program, and then we eventually run into error. Now we need to import this function into our page. Okay, I'm going to import that. All right, so that's going to undo the email verification. Now we need to write the UI for this page. So first off, we are going to have the main HTML element with a class name attribute. I'm just going to copy the styles, all right, so that we can just so that we can focus on the authentication logic and not CSS. So okay, this is what the page looks like. Let me show you what it looks like so that you know what we are working towards. This is what it looks like. It's a simple page. Okay, we have the main background. Beside of that, we have a container, which is this white background. Okay, we have an heading. Okay, we have a simple paragraph. Then we have a link. Okay, if this is successful, it's going to be green. If it's not, it's going to be red. That is what the page looks like. Okay, so inside of this main element, we're going to have the white container. Okay, and I'm just going to copy the styles for the container. All right, it's going to be white. It's going to have some shadow. All right, we are going to give it a max width and all that. All right, so inside of that we have an ending one. Okay, so the ending one has a font size of 2XL, all right, with font bold, that is font weight of 700, and then the font color is text gray 900. All right, so that's that. Then we're going to say what's the heading email verification. Okay, so if we save that, let's just finish everything. Then we're going to open the page all at once. Okay, so after the ending one, we have a paragraph, which is this paragraph. Okay, so we have a paragraph with some styles. Okay, the text is going to be large. All right, we're going to use template literals because we're going to be styling it with respect to either it is successful or not. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to have interpolation here. I'm going to say success. If success is true, then we're going to be having a font color of green 600. Okay. And if it is not successful, then we're going to be having red 600. Okay. All right. So that's for that. So in here, we'll be passing the message we are getting from the function. So we are done with the heading and the paragraph. Now we are left with this link. Okay, so here we're going to have a container. All right, we're giving it a margin top of 1.5 rem. So here we're going to be using the Next.js link. I'm going to import that from Next link. Okay, the href is going to be going to sign in page. All right, we have sign in. Okay, and inside of that link you're having a dynamic text. Okay, if it is successful, the text is going to be continue. Okay, that is after the user has verified their account. So we're going to say continue to sign in. But if the verification is not successful, we're going to say back to sign in. Okay, so we are going to save that. That's all we need to do for the UI. So now I'm going to click on my link, which has expired, but I'm just going to click on that. So get 3001. I'm going to click on that. So you can see invalid or expired link. We've not started our link. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the link. Then I'm going to copy the styles for the link. Okay, this is the link. Here we are going to have a class name. Okay, just give it some background and font color. Okay, and some focus state. So if we go back there now, you can see this is what our page looks like. This is what the final project looks like. So you can see they are the same. Okay, this is localhost 3000 and this is localhost 3001. Okay, so now our verification link has expired. We can try to recreate our account. We could have just tried to request for another verification link, but we've not undo the part of requesting for a new verification link. So I'm going to delete the entry from the database. Then we're going to try to recreate an account. So I'm going to delete this. So where can I save this? Okay, I'm going to save that as deleted. And then I'm also going to delete this entry. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Now let's try to sign up again. This is my name. I'm going to say password. Okay, and the password. Now I'm going to sign in, right? Okay, so sign up successful. Check your email for verification. You can see now that our toast is now dark. The previous one was white. That one was from Sonar directly. This one is from CN. So either one that you prefer, you can go with any one that is your favorite. So I'm going to check my inbox. Okay, I should have a verification mail there. This is the expired one, and this is the new one that was just sent. So I'm going to, okay, just before I click on this verify email link, let's check our entry database. Okay, I'm going to refresh this. Okay, so this is the new entry that you can see that the user ID is now 4. The last one was 3. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, so you can see this is now for the last one was 3. Okay, so let me refresh this also. Okay, so you can see this is the users table. You can see local auth. This is my hashed password. Okay, and all that. So now I'm going to click on the link. Take note of the email verified colon. It is currently false, and we still have an entry here. Okay, so by the time we click on the link, if everything goes right, the email verified is supposed to turn to an error code. Okay, what could be the error? Let's go back to our app, and so what is the error? There is no console log. We can go to our function. Let's try to console log. What could be the error? Okay, I'm going to come to this point. I'm going to console dot log. Okay, I need to get my error here. I'm going to log the error. What could be the error? Let me go and click the link. Okay. So do we have an error? Okay. There is an error with a query. What is the error? Syntax error at or near. Oh, sorry. So this is supposed to be from delete from email verifications. So we're going to go to line 51. Line 51. Okay, so you can see it is very easy to make mistakes. Okay, so this is going to be from email verifications where token equals. Okay, I hope this should be correct. Now we are going to go back to our email address. Let me close all of this. Okay, so I'm going to click on this again now. That's expired. Also, have we exhausted 15 minutes just now? I was so fast. Oh, okay. Let me see if there is no error anymore. Okay. That shouldn't be up to 15 minutes just now. So fast. I hope there is no problem with our local sign up. Okay, where did we create a new user account? I hope our 15 minutes is actually 15 minutes. Okay, where is it? It's actually 15 minutes. All right. Let me check my entry in database. When is it supposed to expire? I'm going to refresh this. Oh, it has, okay, the query has actually run and it has deleted the entry from the database. Let me see if this has, okay, so it has been verified when there was an error with the query. Okay. Okay, when I saved my changes here, so the whole function was re-executed when I saved my changes. So that's actually verify my account. But just so you see how it actually works, I'm going to delete this user, then I'm going to create another user, just so you see what actually happened. Okay, so I'm going to recreate another user. Okay, okay, so as sign up was successful, now I'm going to check my email address. This is my email address. Okay, so I'm going to, sorry, I'm going to go to my email. So we are okay. Then I'm going to click on this. Okay, so you can now see that email has been verified successfully. So with this now, we can now sign into our account, but we've not handled our sign in. In the next video, we are going to be handling our verification required page. Okay, for users that have not verified and they are trying to sign in or already sign up, so they'll be redirected to such page. Okay, and then they can request for a new verification link. Okay, so that'll be all for this video. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.